Hello everyone. In this video I'll be going over cube parity, some examples of parity in a few common cubes like these, and why we care about it. To define parity, let's hop over to Google really quick. Parity, colloquial description of when an odd permutation of pieces are within a certain defined orbital. Okay, but what does this really mean? In short, it's when we have a cube where imaginary centers that could define a side aren't actually present like they are on a 3x3 cube, such as the 4x4 here that doesn't have a center like the 3x3. Because of this, in order to solve them, we have to know what the cube looks like when it is solved, and just solve it like the centers are the correct ones even if they aren't. So with a similar color scheme to the 3x3, for example, where we have green, yellow, red, and all the opposites are correct. Sometimes when we solve cubes like this, we get lucky and there's no issue at all. But then other times, we have a parity problem like this. And this really isn't anyone's fault. There's no way to reliably avoid the parity errors without advanced methods that require magic, future sightseeing abilities that we will not be covering in my guides. Remember, we keep it casual here. To demonstrate this visually, let's take a look at the second cube I ever received, the void cube. The void cube, as we see here, is literally just a 3x3 with a hole in the center on every side, which at the very least makes it more mysterious. People that are new to 3x3 might think, is this harder or is it easier? I'll just give it a go. And half of them do it their first try and think they're all that. And the other half, well, they see some stranger things that they realize should be impossible normally. Things like this. We know from solving 3x3 that this can't happen, and we can't fix this with the algorithms that we've been taught. So what is happening? Let's take a few seconds to think about it. Okay, time's up. Did you get it? Great job. You figured out that the invisible centers are in the wrong places. You're confused? Now let's see a demonstration. The void cube that I had, it disappeared into the void. So we're going to be looking at this 3x3 with some of the centers covered up as an example. If this was our void cube, this is how we would be thinking about it, right? We wouldn't know what those centers were. But what we notice here is that we have two adjacent edges that are opposite colors on top, which we should realize cannot happen on a normal 3x3 in this situation, when all the other corners are in the correct places on top. So what's going on? I'm sure most of you have realized that when I take the tape off, we realize that those centers are actually not where they belong at all. But this is exactly what would happen with a void cube because we don't know what those center colors actually are. So when we get this problem, it is because the centers being switched around doesn't allow us to properly solve all the edges and the corners without some new algorithms. And these algorithms for the different cubes have a few things in common. Number one thing is that they'll typically utilize the unique aspects of the cube compared to what you were doing with the 3x3. Which, as we mentioned, cannot have a parity error. For the void cube, this often involves middle slices like this. For the 4x4, it requires middle slices like this. And for square one, it involves turning what is nearly a solved cube into a distorted shape that looks like Bumblebee going from a Camaro into a Transformer dude. The second thing about these parity algorithms is they can be longer than any of the other algorithms that we use. Truthfully, in most of the cases, they usually are, and that's okay. In my experience, there are certain cubes that I will completely drift away from wanting to mess with at all because I don't want to solve it for 5 or 10 minutes to have to then go look up a parity algorithm I don't remember because I'm so close anyways, but my OCD won't let me leave it unsolved. Then there's some people that hate themselves even more and they'll resort to re-scrambling the whole thing and starting over, which in some cases may work out, or you'll just end up wasting your time all over again. The number 3 thing about these algorithms, because of the nature of them, if you mess something up, like with most other algorithms, you may undo some or all of the work that you did to get there. And that sucks. That is enough sometimes to throw the thing down and only come back after some deep meditation. But have no fear, friends. Parity will not scare us away. It is necessary to learn how to fix it for all of the cubes I gave examples for, so let's tackle it head on. First off, for my fake void cube here, my Rubik's brand one is no longer with me for obvious reasons, but there are better ones available these days. What is the parity algorithm that could fix this problem? Alright, so the algorithm to fix this on a void cube, this error, would be... Alright, so how would we solve this error on a void cube? We're going to do the following algorithm. Front, left, right inverted, back, U2, D prime, F, U, L prime, U prime, L, R prime, D prime, F prime, R prime. Wow, okay, that was a struggle. And it didn't even solve it for us. It just allows us to get to the point where we can. Luckily, there is a way around this algorithm that we can go over another time, but for now, at least we fixed the issue. So if we're treating this like a void cube, we can actually ignore all the centers and we just have to solve everything else. So let's try.
Do that. We have all of our edges lined up there. We just need to correct the corners.
And in terms of a void solve, that would be a void solve because those centers would not be there on a void cube at all. So that algorithm allowed us to do that. The good news is that for some of these longer parity algorithms, they typically follow some sort of repeating moveset or pattern that makes them easier. For the 4x4, for example, spoilers for how to solve 4x4, the goal is to reduce the cube to a 3x3 that looks kind of like this, where each of these acts as an edge, all the corners are the same, and you're going to build the middles yourself. But because we have to set each of the colors on each of the sides by building the centers ourselves, as there is no defined centers on a 4x4, this is why this weird 3x3 can get parity errors, such as just one flipped edge like this. So let's say this is acting like our weird 3x3 with only one edge flipped. We learned in 3x3 that we can't have one edge flipped unless we went and did something like that, right? And that's not going to occur without doing that. So this represents a case where, because it's a 4x4, even though we reduced it to a 3x3, we have this one edge flipped. So I'm going to walk you through the process of how I would fix this, the algorithm, but it's really not going to be an algorithm at all. Let's go over it. Pattern will be, bring this inner right slice down, do a U2, bring this inner left slice down, do an F2, cool. Bring the left slice back up one, do another F2. Now for the second part, we're going to bring the right slice up 2, do U2, right slice up 1, another U2, right slice down, U2, we're going to throw in an F2, do the right slice twice again, and then we're going to do the front twice. And that will solve our error, all fixed. So really what we did there was we took a 15-move algorithm and we turned it into a fairly easy and memorizable sequence where I couldn't read you that algorithm in normal notation off the top of my head. Obviously that takes a lot of practice as well, and screw-ups are going to happen, but it's really not all that bad. I'll explain on that later in my 4x4 guide, what I did there again, and probably make a separate playlist of parity algorithms you can come back to get a quick solution. And to wrap this video up, I'm going to show you the square one parity algorithm. It's a monster, by the way, and the best way to break it into pieces by what I remember it by. So first things first, I'm just going to do it based on the raw algorithm.
Are you okay? I'm dying. Help me.
So that notation is obviously not going to mean anything to you right now. And that is okay, because the square one notation is going to be next on my list for videos to make. However, I do want to go back and play that clip again and consider what's going on inside the mind of this babbling ape while we do it. So let's do that. First thing, we slice or slash. Top to the right, slash. Now bottom to the right, slash. Bottom comes back, slash. And back to the right, slash. Move over a corner at the top, slash. Mirror that on the bottom, slash, move the top back, slash, top to the left a bit more than a quarter turn, slash, move the bottom over the past two edges, slash, never mind, go back, slash, square up the top and move the bottom right a turn and square it up, slash, line up the kite, slash, rotate the bottom, done. So that in essence was the way to sum up what the algorithm was telling us to do in that situation. I feel like you've probably been discouraged, but don't worry about that. We're gonna get to that step when we get to that step. But if you can bypass the roadblock of this lengthy algorithm, I promise you'll have at least a third of the work done for solving the square one. So that basically sums up what parity is and why it needs to be addressed. Remember, it's no one's fault but math and physical reality. This was meant to introduce these errors so you weren't surprised when a wall of text pops up on the screen in my later videos. But with parity covered, the next video will explain the strange coordinate-looking square one notation. Like I mentioned, we're literally going back to square one with this one. And you'll realize it's not nearly as bad as it may look. Then after that, we're going to get into my favorite part about the square one, which is cube shape. We're turning this geometric mess into a box again. This is fun because we get to talk about fists, paws, kites, scallops, muffins, barrels, squares, shields, and probably more that I'm forgetting about. After that, we just have a few more algorithms and we're on our way to solving it. So thanks everyone for watching. I might be dropping some shorts on YouTube as quick summaries for certain things so you don't have to go find a video for everything. Keep it casual everyone, and I'll see you in the next one.